African public administration to succeed. The celebration shall be marked with Inter-MDS Sports Gala from 19th to 22nd June 2023 at Makerere University Sports Grounds. MDAs will carry out corporate social responsibility events in their respective communities. There will be a walk and exhibitions by MDAs on 23rd June 2023 at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds. The chief guest will be His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda. The public is welcome to the event to interact with government officials.
Thank you so much for keeping it with us on UBC TV. And just like the intro said, we are going to be discussing the Africa Public Service Day. What is it all about? What do you need to know about this special day? And I have no other better person placed to discuss with me this. I'm humbled and honored to be having the Minister of Public Service in the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Muruli Mukasa. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, Honorable, when we talk about Africa Public Service Day, for a viewer, person with us, briefly explain to us, what is this all about?
Well, it's all about, first of all, celebrating, but also recognizing the service and the effort put in by the public service in fostering development in any country. We know that a country recognizes three arms of government, you know, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and of late there is the other arm, which is called, I think, the fourth or fifth estate, you know, but they do not really seriously recognize the public service. Why? Because the service is supposed to be a service, civil, humble, but it is that service that really works the wheels and the cogs and the levers to make sure that government exists and actually the communities also develop and enjoy themselves. So there are those, the service is that arrangement somewhere in the kitchen, preparing everything for the people to enjoy at the table. So we need, therefore, to celebrate it, to bring it out, so that people know exactly what the service is doing, who are these servants, what exactly they are doing, what's their mandate, and then also stimulate discussion. How can they do it better? What is lacking? How have they developed from point A to point B? Yes. So the service is that lubricant of the machine or the machinery of development.
Now, when we talk about this day specifically, what are the objectives of having such a day where I've seen a number of activities that have been lined up prior to the celebrations? So why are we giving it this, would I call it pomp, the urge to them hosting you on set?
Yes.
It's, you know, what is it?
Yeah, well, some time back in the 70s, African administrators met in Freetown and decided that, yes, for their effort in bringing a service to the communities, I think that effort should be recognized. There should be a day really dedicated for that effort. Now, this idea was adopted and it went up to UN level, and the UN actually declared June 23rd as the Public Service Day. At the continental level also, it was taken seriously. Together with the African Association of Public Administration Managers and Administrators, we agreed that each country should really give it a lot of prominence. But why, as you're asking, why? One, the service is a very important tool in the administration in the implementation of the various programs of development of every country. Yes. It's really these technocrats, these important people who translate the wishes and aspirations of any political administration authority into practice, into reality. Now, of course, as they do so, there are a lot of challenges here and there. Obviously, the challenges are not only in terms of finances and other resources. There are many other challenges as well, administrative and name it. But the fact that these people sit down calmly and gradually overcome those challenges and make sure that the aspirations, wishes, manifestos of various governments are put into effect and maintain the tempo of development and improvement, a qualitative change in the lives of the community, that alone merits really celebration and the pomp. Yes. Yeah. And of course, that celebration is not just for nothing. First of all, people want to know what is going on. They want also to compare the past and the present. They want also to, to stimulate debate as to the next move, and also to stimulate ideas as how the service can even improve and serve the people better. Yeah.
Now, just to take you back, I know there could be someone watching us, and as we talk about even public service, it is something that they are not even really at par with. What is public service? So, briefly, Honorable, let me just rush you back quickly when we talk about public service.
Yes.
What are we referring to?
The public service you are referring to are the core of, or a core of servants in the various ministries, in the various departments and authorities who on a daily basis execute the duties and functions they have to execute in fulfillment of the vision of the country, for instance, of the manifesto of a given political authority, of whatever programs of development they have put in place. For instance, we are talking about, let's say, the Ministry of Health. Who are those servants? We're talking about those doctors, those nurses, those people who work in the theaters, all those. While in education, we're talking about the teachers and the administrators. In the army, it's a special service. We're talking about the men and officers and the women.
I was about to remind you that less for gender sensitivity.
Yes. So all those people who offer a service, carry out a duty to serve the community, to serve the country, that is the service. So we have the civil service, the traditional service, the teachers, the administrators, and so on. Then we have the judicial service. This is specific to the judiciary itself. All those honorable judges and all of them, the registrars, so there is a judicial service. And then we have the military service as well. So in Uganda, in the case of Uganda, we have those categories of services. But in a nutshell, it's a core of people who actually carry out duties which are aimed at bringing improvement and development to the rest of their fellow countrymen and countrywomen. Yes.
That well explained. Now let's go back to the celebrations. What is this year's theme?
This year's theme is about the African continental trade. Saying that trade to be effective and meaningful to the people, it must have a service, a public service, which is fit for the occasion. Yes. Well, the African continental trade is very important, you know, for the rapid transformation and development of Africa and of creating an integrated economy, African economy. Now, and of course, this has been a dream of the founding fathers, you know, of Africa, all the way from Kwame Nkrumah to the others like Jomo Kenyatta and all of them. So they were thinking of a continental trade bloc. So we trade among them. And if we do, with all our resources, then we shall really be a power to reckon with. And we might avoid some of the economic shocks which we experience, you know, as in single individual countries. So for that to happen, and it's desirable, and it's slowly taking shape, but for it really to be strong and secure, then we must have a service, a public service that is going to support, it's going to be dedicated to that, and make sure that, yes, it realizes its peak and the benefits. So we must have a fit public service. What do we mean by fit public service? A public service that is focused, that knows what it's going to do, a service that is responsive, a service that is going to be very efficient, and really a service that is also a little bit innovative. Yes, that's it's not just a question of being single track, but serving, meeting challenges, and finding ways of resolving those challenges to make sure that the, for instance, the continental free trade area is realized.
I must say the theme is really very good.
Yes.
And very interesting. And rightly when you said we need for this continental free trade zone,
yes,
we need an active, good, strong, focused public service.
Yes.
This brings me to ask, you're the minister in charge of this docket. Now, Honorable Muruli Mukasa, how do you gauge our current Uganda public service? Because this is an African Day we are celebrating, but we need to look at who we are first. Yes.
Well, I think I rate our current service fairly highly. Yes, it is still a very good and dedicated service. There have been, you know, a few changes from, for instance, the service that we had during the colonial days, and then the service that we had, you know, soon after independence. But then you are aware of what happened in between soon after independence, the political instabilities, which really dealt serious blows, you know, to the service, the kind of service that we're used to. But of course, even now, the duties and responsibilities of the current service have been added. And even the working environment has changed, the resources and the kind of manpower which we have now has changed. But one thing is clear, that we have now a very highly skilled service. Yes, in terms even of education, in terms of training and so on, it's highly skilled. Two, we have a fairly young service. Young in the sense that a number of the people who are there really are very young and they are educated. Three, it's a service that meets so many other challenges. In addition to providing a service, there are other economic, even social challenges that are impinging on these public servants. But overall, really, the service is performing very well. And it has kept the machinery of government moving very well. So it's a good, admirable service.
Two things you've mentioned here that are very critical. One, you said we have relatively a young public service, many young people, and you also added that in terms of qualification, yes, you've given the generational differences, where now we have more educated, more qualified Ugandans than the previous. But highly educated and young would equal to high levels of productivity. Over and by, there are many people who seem to be looking at our public service as not that much productive, despite being highly qualified and young. I need your take on this.
Well, yes, that could be the impression. However, for a service to be really very productive, there are other factors in the equation. One factor are the resources.
Okay.
Yes, the tools that we need to maybe perform these tasks. If the resources are there, and then the people handling them know what to do with them, then we expect really very good service. But if there's a shortage here and there are challenges in the resources, definitely you do not expect 100% of the service. You'll get a service, however it will depend on the inputs which are there. So this is a challenge that we face, that many times, you know, we plan and, you know, make budgets and so on, say, yeah, we want, everyone wants 100% and so on. Then when it comes to the budget, because of other competing and equally important demands, then the budget is cut. Then obviously it's short of doing a miracle. You can't go beyond that. There are also issues of motivation. Yes. For a public servant really to perform very well, you must be fairly motivated. And one way, there are many ways of motivating someone, but one way is the salary. Yes. If the salary is good enough, then there is likely to be high motivation and therefore high productivity. But if the salary isn't, because of other social challenges, then the motivation is more or less going to be low key. And this is what we are experiencing now. We worked out a salary structure, and we really made good projections, and we hoped we would by now really be paying our public servants according to the pay structure and pay principles that we agreed on. But because of, you know, shocks here and there, challenges here and there, either some of them natural, you know, others geopolitical, then we have not been able to. And our move, our trajectory towards that goal has not been straight, you know, up and down. But otherwise, when you weigh that all together, I think you credit the service. Yes, you do.
This also brings me to something very important in terms of public service. Now, the good thing is we are celebrating that is Africa Public Service Day.
Yes.
We are not only focusing at Uganda, and when we talk about the Continental Free Trade Zone, now the word integrity is very, very important.
Oh, yes, yes.
When we come to our public service, we have issues of corruption, we have issues of absenteeism, we have issues of neglect of duty. There's even a common saying that some people in public service offices may come in, put a hanga coat on their chair, and then move away. How are we addressing this away from just having people who are qualified, just maybe even having good, if you have salary enhancement, that is something that still remains a challenge.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's still a challenge. But we must understand why this is happening. It is not that really all these servants intend to be so, they are wayward.
Yes.
But there are other factors really working or bringing about that kind of situation. One of the factors is shortage of some of the resources which we want. How we are going about this, that yes, we have agreed, for instance, on pay enhancement of all the public servants, from the lowest to the highest. But we are going to do it, we have started on that journey in phases, yes, in phases. But we have also now looked at the strategic areas which are important and must be there for the service to continue and even carry out a change. Those areas, the strategic areas, are those that have a science base, you know, like doctors, you know, like our engineers, electricians, all those people. That's a science base. Now, therefore, we look at them and they take the enhancement first. Then others that coordinate, maybe administrators will come, will follow. That's one way we are trying to handle all these issues. The other one is to rationalize. We look at the structure and the organization, the entire machinery. Is it efficient? Is there no way it can be improved, that we even provide a service in a much better way and more efficient way? So that one we are also handling to ensure that, yes, where there is wastage, we cut it out. Where there is redundancy, we cut it out. And where 2 items or 3 items could be put together and managed by a smaller, leaner group, that's what we are doing. So that way, we hope also to remove this kind of negative behavior or the negative results which have been observed. The other one is really to employ technology.
Okay.
So absenteeism, okay, corruption and what have you, fine. But if we can limit this other contact, the eye-to-eye contact,
Yes.
and we use technology, then that will help in a way to eliminate or reduce corruption to a very low level. So we are
Honorable
using
Minister,
that.
forgive me for cutting you short.
Yes.
Anytime I must be moving to Ministry of Health because today Uganda is celebrating World Sickle Cell Day. Let me just have your final remarks where the celebrations are going to be, then we'll be moving to that direction.
Well, we shall have the celebrations at Kololo ceremonial grounds tomorrow. And all the MDAs, ministers are going to be there to showcase what they are doing. We have had a public service week. We have been having a lot of events going on. Social corporate responsibility, for instance. The army cleaned Naguru Hospital. The Minister of Health has done something as well. We have been having sports galas all along. And tomorrow, the public service, Minister of Public Service workers will actually move on foot from Wandegea to Kololo ceremonial grounds, where the activities are going to be. So it's going to be really a very busy day, and we expect a big turn-up from the public and from other public servants to interact with the people who provide the service, to ask questions, to get literature, to get to know what's going on. So it's really a very big event. And knowing it's being celebrated, yes, being celebrated in the rest of Africa, it's a very important day, and we expect really people to come up and join us. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Muruli Mukasa, Minister for Public Service. Thank you so much for this very good information, and we hope Ugandans will turn up in huge numbers at Kololo as we celebrate Africa Public Service Day. Like I told you earlier, we'll be moving to Ministry of Health headquarters in Kampala, where there is celebrations for Uganda to commemorate World Sickle Cell Day, and we expect the Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Aceng, to be there as the chief guest. Have a lovely day. God bless Uganda. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Responsibilities of all the stakeholders, right from the community levels up to highest level possible, among the under 5 in this country. And it is one of the commonest NCDs, or non-communicable diseases, in this country.